Hey, everybody. My name is Tyler Crook. I am the artist of books like Harrow County and BPRD, some Black Hammer books, Colonel Weird, and the Unbelievable Unteens. And I have a new book out called Out of Alcatraz. And you are here to talk to us today on Splash Pages.
Hey, do you guys ever think that Tyler kind of gives you like older Matthew Lillard vibes? I'm just looking at it, he's just cheerful, but he's done stuff. I don't know.
Hey, happy Tuesday, everybody. You are watching Splash Pages. I'm Leo. I'm the monkey behind the keyboard here, and we have an incredible show for you, as always. And, we'll change things up a little bit. Mr. Drew, how's it going?
I know you thought it was going to be Carrie, right? You
I
thought
know.
that.
It's a good
I
thing
know.
I
No,
read.
no, 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 Leo. I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to the audience. I was breaking the fourth wall. You ruined it. Hey, everybody. It's Tuesday. You're here, which means that definitely you might not have paid the bill for streaming services, but that's great. So while you're pulling that money together, you're here with us, and we love that. And so thank you. But I'm gonna turn it over to the next person, I know is very excited about our great guest that we have tonight. So in my Leo Palmas, all right, let's see what's going on next. Wait, go. Carrie, how you doing over there?
I am doing great tonight, Drew. Thank you for asking. Happy Tuesday, everybody. It's so good to see you guys here. Tom Dog, hello. Mott, hello. I'm so happy to see you here as well. Bretta Tosker is we're back from a con that was a little difficult on us. He is drinking his new hazelnut flavored vodka. And I'm going with just some Maker's Mark tonight. But okay, so tonight, our guest this evening started his comic career coming in hot as the illustrator for the historic thriller Petrograd in 2011, which won him the Russ Manning Promising Newcomer Award. He's also received 2 Ghastly Awards as well as a Bram Stoker Award, whilst being nominated for several Eisners. You might also recognize him from his work on The Sixth Gun, BPRD, Hell on Earth, Witchfinder, Black Hammer, and of course the heaviest book I own, Harrow County. Back in 2022, he released The Lonesome Hunters that we're going to be touching on tonight, a series that he was both a writer and the artist for, and its follow-up, The Lonesome Hunters, The Wolf Child. Most recently, he has provided illustrations for Out of Alcatraz, written by Christopher Cantwell. We're going to be touching on that tonight as well. His use of watercolor and gouache, along with his inking, makes his work very, very distinctive with his very emotive characters. And on Friday nights, you can find him over on YouTube hosting his comic book cool down with his wife Mott and sometimes their cat Tibbs hanging out with a really great Friday night family and the live comments that I am so thankful to be a part of. Everyone, the incredibly talented and the extremely kind Mr. Tyler Crook.
Woo!
Tibbs!
That's great.
Hi, everybody.
Yay!
I am
More like
very glad to be here.
more like Tyler Cat. Like,
Yay! Love to
I
kitty.
I almost cut to when it was the cat butt shot, but I didn't.
yeah.
Well, that was a very kind intro, Carrie. I'm very happy to be here.
Well, I mean,
Happy enough.
yeah, listen, Carrie, at any point, if you want to just have your one-on-one with Tyler, me and Leo can take like a 20-minute, I don't know, walk around the block, because correct me if I'm wrong, Carrie, but you are essentially a staple of Tyler's, which I hear is very lively, very family-esque, live drawing sessions of you guys talk philosophy and art and spookiness, things that Carrie would enjoy. Am I wrong, Carrie?
It's some of that, and it's also a lot of supportive people. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't say that I'm necessarily a staple, but I've become a regular for the past few months, and it's a very nice family to be a part of. There's this just community that you guys have cultivated, and there are artists and writers and just fans and people that support each other and like, hey, what you been doing? Did you get that done yet? Do you need some help? Do you need hey, congrats on what you did there. You can get through the next part of it. It'll be okay. And we talk relationships sometimes as we're doing stuff, and we get to watch Tyler do amazing things every episode. And Moth's there a lot, and chatting with us, keeping the crowd going with the flow. And it's just a really fun community. So if you guys get a chance, if you need to breathe, feel good, and feel supported on a Friday night ever, go and check out his show on YouTube. It's the Friday Night Comic Cool Down.
I feel like I
So,
should like
yeah.
Tyler. I feel like I should be wearing a hat in solidarity because it's just a good look for you, man. Like I
Well,
was
thank you.
looking at yours, and then you got that, and but then the last time we tried coordinating a hat, it did not go so well.
It's my
Um,
favorite hat too. It says comic books on it.
Oh,
there you go.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, the last time we had you on, it was with your fellow Harrow County co-creator Cullen Bunn,
Mhm.
which was absolutely awesome. And I've been recommending. I have quite a few spooky people who definitely dealt with a couple of haints. So I was like, guys,
Nice.
really love this book, and a few people have been like, that was a great read. I was like, I know. I interviewed the people who brought it to the world. You know, it's literally a weapon in Carrie's library now. Is that right, Carrie? She carried it to the like Carrie. You know what? I don't want to tell your story while you're here, so why don't you, you know, tell how you brought a
Reading.
literary weapon?
Oh, thanks, Dean.
Thank you,
Dang.
dude. But Carrie,
Yeah.
tell the
Oh,
story. You know?
no. I, I have to find these guys. I have to figure out where Tyler and Mott are going to be. Uh because
Con-wise.
I got the yeah,
Hmm.
conwise that I can
That's
somehow get
interesting.
to, or else I'm just going to be mailing you like, here's 50
Oof,
bucks to
that'll,
mail it back.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
the complete Harrow County that I'm not going to carry out of my bedroom again because I've lifted it so many times over the past couple of weeks. But it's a 10.5 pound book that comes in, it's a hard bound book. It comes in a slipcase. It's all the gorgeous artwork and everything. But it's really heavy. And I carried it to the con in a backpack with a
It's
bunch of my other
over a
stuff.
thousand pages, just for context.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there's like all of the library editions, all of the essays, all of the tales from Harrow County is included in
Hmm.
it.
Hmm.
Mott's got some stuff in there as well. And so
Mhm.
it's just, and then they released just recently, it, I don't know if it's hit the shelves yet or not, but the like a softer edition is being
No,
released of
yeah,
it as well that you just did the cover for.
they just announced it, but it won't be out till October. So we got a
Yeah.
while before that one's in stores.
Oh
But
no,
yeah,
just
Yeah.
sounds stubborn, man. She'll still get
We
that version too.
we
You know.
we were talking about it when it came out on the news because you just shown the cover and then we were like, oh yeah, this is coming out. I'm like, but I got the big one. I can stop bullets with this book.
It's true. I've
yeah, no,
seen it.
I'm actually pretty confident that will stop most, at least small caliber bullets.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Maybe moderate knives. Nothing too crazy. I won't. I don't know if it's up a sword.
Well, it's
But,
like this thick, so anything that somebody can legally carry, it will stop knife wise.
well,
It's
well, well. I would expect nothing more from the good people in Harrow County.
Yeah.
Um, but so yeah,
Well,
that's the last time we had you on, and it was fantastic. So thank you again for coming back. We really appreciate
uh,
it. Yes, indeed. Um,
before we get into that,
thank
so
you.
yeah, Carrie, you were asking about like cons. So Tyler, what cons are you planning to hit this year?
The only one I have a solid plan for is the Boise Library Con. But I don't remember when that is. But I'm sure if you Google Boise Library Con, it'll come up the first thing. I want to say it's maybe in August.
Mm-hmm.
where
Um,
is that at?
That
it's in
is
Boise, Idaho.
August 30th and 31st.
There we go. So that's one. Yeah, that's the only solid plan I have right now. Yeah, I'm gonna spend a free comic book day at my local library. Uh,
Yeah,
and
nothing
while I
wrong with
won't
that.
be like having a table there, I will be available to sign stuff if anyone wants to come to Willamina, Oregon.
I mean, listen, you got to support the library, man. Page
Yeah,
masters like
yeah,
yourselves have to support the books. So
Yeah.
come on.
He recently did artwork for his local library.
Yeah, I
To,
made a
like,
little,
show
I
up.
turned the building into a little mascot. And actually, I did it on my live stream on Friday, and everyone in the chat recommended we name the character Lil Barry, like library, and
Nice.
it's been a hit. Everyone down at the library loves it and
You
calls him
go.
by that name even.
Nice.
Yeah,
And it's so cute.
yeah.
You can order you can order that soon. Those of us, even if we don't live by you,
Um,
are we going to be able to order stickers and stuff? And
we haven't got the sticker plan yet, but we're starting the plan for tote bags.
ooh,
And I'm not sure how we'll be able to order them online. They might be able to go on as a print on demand sort of a thing, but yeah, I'll have to talk to the rest of the library crew and see what they have to say.
Library
awesome.
crew. Nice.
Because I want those for my laptop. I got to decorate with the
Oh
whole
yeah.
library.
Oh
It's gonna
yeah,
You're
no, and
gonna
I'm
be
doing Mott's down and they're like keeping me on my toes. We have Cap City Comic Con in Salem, Oregon on May 31st. Um, yeah, that's a very local show to me, so that'll be and that's um the first of those shows. So it's
Mhm.
a new convention. So it'll be fun to see how it goes. I'm excited. It's being set up by some friends of mine, and they're they're smart and good at organizing stuff. So I think it'll be great.
It's
Oh,
always
absolutely.
it's always fun to hit a con when it's just starting out, because then you can tell, if it's something that's going to stick around or not based on like the foot traffic. And it's always exciting to see, a new con, get busy right away.
That's
Well,
true.
I don't know. I don't know if you can ever know what a con will become from going to the first ones. Like, because I started going to
Well,
San Diego Comic Con in '86, I think. And
Jeez.
from that, you would never, ever in a million years know that it would turn into what it has become.
yeah. Well,
It was
at least
possible.
that it will be around for at least another year. It's
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like I could stand outside of my door and be in line for somebody at San Diego, like, even though I'm in Nebraska, just
Oh
randomly.
yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, for
That's
sure.
And
exactly.
yeah,
That's the whole H line starts somewhere
Yep. In
by your
Nebraska.
house.
Yep.
yeah, it's insane. I was just at Kansas City, and we're gonna talk about that next week on the show, but I sent these guys like this 17-second video of this huge line of people all going wrapped around, and it was to the pizza vendor.
And and
Um,
I and I and
I,
I and I was like, this is news to you? Like this is like I've been to New York Comic Con. I saw people that literally went to the con to stand in line, to stand and or sit in line all day, just to go to the Walking Dead panel at the end of the show. And I was like, I was like, congratulations, good for you. My ADD does not allow this.
well,
So,
speaking of Walking Dead, longest line I've seen was at a con in Jersey, and we got there. There was a line out into the parking lot,
for
and
who?
well, I'll tell you. But
Okay,
get
I'm
this:
sorry.
Walking Dead is prime at this
Right.
time, going on strong. They're good years. The line went around the facility and then all the way through the parking lot, and is for Norman Reedus. It
Well,
was, yeah, it was absolutely insane. I was talking to somebody there. They said, they've been in line for a couple hours now, and it's only moved a couple feet. It's just
jeez.
like,
Oh
yeah,
wow.
just insane. Yeah. But I mean, that was what, like 10 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, but he's still on the show. People would still do that.
Oh
And that
yeah.
was before
Yeah.
yeah,
that's before a fan bit him in a photo op.
Yeah.
So
He
Ooh.
knows how to work the crowd though. Cause well, you know what, I won't go into it because we're here for Tyler.
that's true. But no, it's
yeah.
fun. But you're right,
We'll
Leo.
do that next week.
Yeah,
Next
we'll
week we'll
pivot
just
back.
do all random con stuff.
Yeah,
So
but we'll pivot back. Um, well, guys, if I can, I'd like to start with what one of my memorable reads of Tyler's recently was your work with Jonathan Mayberry in Bad Blood, which like being a horror movie fan, I very much enjoyed, because I was like, you and Jonathan just handled such a heavy subject, and I always find it really impressive that in horror there's always a splash of humor. It's like we have to find something to laugh about in the face of confronting true evil, or even something like this book, more our own mortality and whatnot. So I just want to know, like, what was like working on this book, which is very in tune with horror, but it's really its own thing. So I mean, we were talking about it before the show, so you might have to repeat a little bit.
Yeah, well, that was like it was a weird project for me. It was sort of I had basically I mean, not in so many words, but I basically wasn't I knew I was not going to make any more BPRD books at that point, and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to work on.
Mhm.
And this Bad Blood project just came up, and I leapt on it. And working with Jonathan Mayberry, he was so generous and like patient with me, because I was a little bit of a mess, I think, while I was making that book. But it was like that's the first I actually went and got this is my copy that I turned into I made a hardcover case for it.
Show it
One of
off
a kind.
again. Look at that.
So this was
You
the
can
first.
never
Oh,
own it.
do it again. Yeah, this is
Yeah,
my.
yeah, yeah. Show it off, man. Look at that. That's cool. That's
Yeah.
fucking dope. Look at that. Wow.
But this was my first. This is the first book that I colored and lettered. So this was the first for both of those, and it was a challenge. Like it was because for one thing, I had never watercolored a book like this. Watercolor for me was always just sort of like what I did in my sketchbooks and stuff.
Hmm.
And they had asked me to color the book too, and I was like, I would love to, but I cannot sit in front of my computer and do that. Like I just can't sort of emotionally take it. So I pitched them this, and I think I had to do a sample page or two, and they said okay to it. So then I did it, and um it was a weird challenge. Like I didn't have a good scanner at the time, so it was like old school where I FedExed the pages to Dark Horse and they scanned them and then sent them back to me to do some like revisions and stuff. And yeah, it was a really good book. I think it wasn't until after I was done that I really started to appreciate like what a great story it was, and what it was about, just because I was so like caught up in like doing it as a job that I wasn't like evaluating the story as like deeply as I should have. And it was so yeah, no, it's a book that I'm actually really, really proud of. And it was like a milestone for me as a comic book creator, but like one that I didn't know that the milestone was happening until well after it was done, you know?
Yeah. No, and I had a couple of pages that I just wanted to point out as kind of like my favorite highlights, just to talk to you about. Leo, Carrie, would you mind bringing them up for me?
Keyboard monkey on the job.
Okay. This one killed me because I and you can it's funny, I don't know if Carrie or Leo know this, but I sometimes have a real problem taking photographs, because I
Uh-huh.
always think my smile just looks ridiculous, because either it's I always feel like I show not enough teeth or too much teeth, and so I just playfully smirk or do
Hmm.
like goofy faces. So you have this character who's just dealing with, some heavy shit, and his friend is trying to cheer him up, and this montage of things was amazing. um Absolutely, just especially because no, 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 just it's just so
Yeah.
fucking fun. And just you captured, like, again, one image, but it was just so detailed yet very simple, and I was just like, man, that, like, I just chuckled through just looking at each of this, and I was like, yeah, this is so fucking funny.
That's
So
awesome.
was any of this like you said Jonathan was very giving. Was any of
Mhm.
this you, or were these like it was? I was like, oh, he's dead.
You know,
Max.
no, that was all Jonathan. Like this was like the getting the expressions on the face right is me, but like like the holding up the mask, having the arrow through his head, making the
Yeah.
zombie face, like that's from the script. Yeah.
And just looking at it now, it's the drinking the poison or the mask. Just chugging, just so absentmindedly.
That
Um,
line of drool is brilliant. It's
yeah. And then the next one, which is after he meets, I guess his first friend after his losing his friend. No spoilers,
Mhm.
everybody. I mean, it's been out for a while, but I'm not gonna, summarize this thing for you. It's Drew's news, not Drew's reviews. I think what it was, it's just like this is all that, but it's the panel at the bottom that killed me because it's just it's what you don't see is great, but the expressions make it, and then the box is this is me hunting vampires.
Yeah.
Like what? I was like, yeah, I don't recall this in Blade. So like I was like, oh my god. But like I said, what makes it for me is the reactions because we don't need to see what she's doing. You and
Yeah.
Jonathan basically implied it, but the reactions are just perfect.
Well, having the bra there too is a pretty heavy clue.
Yes.
Oh, what's going on?
But yeah, I'm sorry. It's just especially because that just killed me. This is
Well,
me
that's like
hunting
some nice.
vampires.
I agree with you. Like I haven't looked at this book in forever, and like I feel like I agree. That's some nice staging. But that one in particular, I don't know. I couldn't tell you what the script said. I don't recall. I
Mhm.
bet a lot of that even is Jonathan's script
Mhm.
describing how that would be set up.
Yeah.
it-
And then well, the next two pages were as a pop culture fan, I absolutely fucking love. So Leo, Gary.
Yeah, I'll push it over.
yeah.
But Carrie, you were gonna say
Oh,
something?
yeah, no, if you go on the far right for us, the on the bottom panel, there's like the front guys have their things, he in the center is done. And you have these guys kind of leering and some different little faces, but the one guy's just like over on the far end,
Over the
like,
shoulder,
Over
yeah.
the shoulder guy.
Yeah. Oh, hey,
yeah.
like you got one over each shoulder too. Like, oh, and yay. Yeah, it's
Yeah, that guy's feeling pretty lucky. Can't
yeah.
believe
You
he
always
can't
have the
believe he
best
gets to be there.
you have the best expressions. They just absolutely say what's going on. You don't really need that much of a script to go with it. I love it.
Yeah. So, but like I said, the next that like it was like it it was when they're talking and they're just trying to figure out like we don't know what the fuck we're doing. Like, geez, this
Hmm.
whole thing. I mean, they both faced vampires. They both lived. They're essentially considered unclean. But for me, it's he's like, yeah, we have no idea what the fuck we're doing. We're not Buffy and Angel. We need help. But it's her, like just the fact that she listed the Ghostbusters, the Frog Brothers, and then advertising for vampire hunters on Craigslist. And I'm like, way to carbon date this book. Craigslist. But it like I've never thought I'd hear Ghostbusters and the Frog Brothers in the same
Yeah.
um breath, but I was like, yes. So just genius. Fantastic. And then of course what I love is that you what you did in the background, you just have this really kind of like Night of the Living Dead hold up sanctuary kind of feel to it, with the
Hmm.
the with the boards over the windows and just everything looking so desolate. Um,
Yeah, well, that's kind of based off of an apartment that a friend of mine lived in when I was in college.
oh,
And it was like college, it was like studio apartments where the bathroom wasn't in the room, it was like down the hall. But it
right.
was not like on campus. It was like privately owned by this slumlord, and it was nasty. And but it was
Jeez.
cheap. It was like $100 a month or something, and
Yeah. That's pretty cheap.
in Berkeley. So like, so that was what it was based off of. Obviously, the boards on the windows were added for this scene because they're trying to keep the vampires out.
Right.
But yeah,
But
You
and
do a
then
really good job. Oh, sorry.
no, Carrie, go.
It's not so much in this particular one, but if you look at a lot of different rooms you do for people, um, you're really good, and you do this on the show sometimes. The different punk rock scenes and stuff. A lot of the characters, anyone who's into a punk rock scene or whatever, with the posters that you do, they might not
mm.
be super detailed, but you have that vibe so down as to how
Well,
like they
thanks.
all looked and stuff. It's like I'm betting that there were quite a few of those posters hanging around in rooms that you might have existed in here and there along the ways.
Yeah, like
So
I don't know if kids are as into it as they were when I was little because nobody gets magazines anymore. But like every like just about everyone I knew in high school, their walls were just like posters, floor to ceiling, and then often posters all across the ceiling, and it was like magazine cutouts and posters and all kinds of stuff.
I
Yeah,
I had
so
one of
I
those.
definitely have done that a couple times. In fact, like Bad Blood has another, like I think the first panel is like that. Yeah, like this um
Yep.
this scene. Will it go?
Yeah.
It won't do it with my face in the
No, we
thing.
see it.
Oh,
We
there we
see
go.
it.
There we go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
got the posters up on the ceiling, all up and down the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like,
exactly.
I know a lot of people, a lot of cartoonists complain about doing backgrounds, but like I hardly ever like they don't really feel like backgrounds to me. They always, like I always think of them as being the setting, and I always want to
Oh,
make like the time and place of a story feel very clear and distinct. Because I think that's so much of like any story is that it takes place in a very specific time and place. Like almost all of my favorite books. Well, I think the books that I've done that have been like the best, like Petrograd, is
mm,
in a very specific time and place. Harrow County is a very specific time and place.
right.
Uh, Alcatraz that I'm doing now is in a very specific time and place. It's like, yeah, like the setting is just really important to getting people immersed in the story.
Yeah.
I love that stuff. And like, I don't know,
Mhm.
do you want to go back to the one where they're talking in the room?
Yeah.
Like I love stuff like you look at the dresser in that first panel, like it's missing a knob and it's got a little bit of underwear sticking out, and I love that stuff. I love that kind of little tiny detail.
Yeah.
I
No,
Like I
it,
didn't
have a
even notice
very
that you
hard
had the
time
chair prop.
drawing like a doorway without putting a ding on the door frame where I'm like, this is where the couch came in and it went bonk, and they're like, oh dang it.
well, but like you said, like it adds a little extra splash of realism and it just makes it
Mhm.
more tangible because, like you said, that's what makes it real for you. And we wouldn't know this, but now that you pointed out, it's like, oh, okay, now we see it, and like, wow,
Mhm.
it's like when someone tells you where an Easter egg is versus if you find it yourself. But in your
Yeah,
case, you're
yeah.
telling it because you put it there in the first place, so we appreciate it more.
Well, and it's also for me, it's not stuff that you're supposed to be like when you're reading it, you're not supposed to be like, oh, look, that knob is falling off the dresser. It's just supposed to like, a bunch of small details that will sort of add up over time to
Right.
create a world that where people live and where things existed before the story started and will exist after the story's done.
Yeah, absolutely. But then,
Set
and
that
then,
tone.
yes. So piggybacking off of this one, then when the other panel is, they actually put it on Craigslist, and I was just dying because they're like, anyone responded? I said, oh yeah, we got a lot of replies. So far, 600 from Buffy or members of her Scooby Gang, almost as many
Mhm.
from one of Van Helsing's descendants, a bunch each from uh, Kulhak, Angel.
Wait.
Helen.
Whole hack?
Kolchak.
I can't,
Kolchak.
guys, I can't
Jeez,
see
sir.
it as clear. I can't see it
This
as
This is why we write notes.
Kolchak. I'm sorry, couldn't see the C. You know, like you've never mispronounced something. Fuck you. And then of
Point.
course Hellboy. You know, most interesting was vampire porn from Missy Chocula with pictures. I was like, I'm done. The internet is a foul, stupid place, which is shown up on the next panel. So this was really the stupidest idea ever. No, maybe not. But the fact that there was even a reference to Hellboy, I was done. Considering as a one, because you've worked on Hellboy related books, and two, I being a huge Hellboy fan, I know stories where Hellboy's dealt with vampires, and I was like, oh god. But Buffy and Scooby Gang, I was like, I'm done. Like the internet, I was like, this would happen on the internet. But I was just like, you two just killing it. Even at the bottom when she's just slumped over, visibly annoyed, like, was this really dumb? And you're like, no, it might have been somebody.
I like the transition in the color scheme too, from like at home posting the thing to then being in this like really warm colored coffee house where they're like at home, like, oh, we can do this, and it's these cool colors, like, okay, we're gonna sink in, and then yeah,
And
so
then
that
black
didn't
and
work.
white when we go to the
Yeah,
I've forgotten that guy character's name, but when he's like reading it on Craigslist.
Yeah.
yeah.
And then the next one, I will also say kind of blew me away because,
Blew him away too.
pun intended. Like we've seen, people, vampires getting staked before. They fade into dust, they explode, whatever. But I mean, the fact, like you and Jonathan made it that you stake a vampire and they'll dissolve into rats or bugs. I was like, what? Like, because I'm thinking Gary Oldman in Dracula, turning into the swarm of rats. I just go, oh, fuck. I don't even care about rats that way, but that was still like, oh, that's gross. But just the image alone, and then you have, the red shading and whatnot. It is just fucking immaculate. So, I mean,
Thanks. Yeah, just looking at the image that you put up there, when it looks like one, because that's from reading it digitally, right?
mm-hmm.
Yeah, it turned a little more magenta. Like my version's a little more. Well, no, looks about the exact same on the screen, huh? Doesn't it?
Yep. 1 second. Yep. Keep talking.
That's a little less magenta, a little less pink, but interesting.
I did
Yeah.
notice that. I watch you too much, so I notice all these little tidbits in your art that are like, oh, I'm going to do this because of this. And it's like, and then why was there the magenta there? But it does set it apart a little bit. And I like the way you did that because there's just so much red and there are only so many shades of red you can do without having something to make it pop off that still works, like you could have gone with the oranges, but then everything's so warm in there, this gave it like a cooler feel in that panel a bit,
Yeah, it
as far
differentiates
as
it so much more from the rest of
Well,
the.
and
yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry, my phone was dying, so I was like, I need to plug it in. But actually, I have a question for one of us, Leo. You're not the greatest horror person, and yet me and Carrie kind of unconsciously torture you by having you read things that are a little gory and violent and whatnot. So, I mean, nothing's ever going to beat Next Wave. But Leo, what did you think about all this? What were your thoughts, buddy?
I couldn't find this book, so
Oh my
where
God.
is
I'm sorry to put you on the spot, bud. You got it, but come on.
okay? It's okay.
Okay. All right. You're not, as long as you're not getting squeamish, buddy. That's all that matters to me. Can't have you passing us.
Based on his axes with the snakes, I don't think rats are going to bother him,
That's
but
true. That's true.
if they turned into puppies and were then beheaded, it would be an issue.
That's true.
I
That's
think.
true. Um,
Yeah,
But
well, if anyone's having a hard time feeling or finding this, maybe Ma in the chat can tell me if it's up on our web store or not. We have a lot of my books up there.
yes.
no,
Oh, nice.
I was able to find it pretty easily, but I mean, whatever. I mean, Leo, what
But
it
if
is.
we would
It,
like to order it and have our nice little grubby hands all over it and
Yeah.
yeah,
wash them before you
yeah,
touch them, it would be
exactly.
nice to own this in a physical copy rather than digital.
Oh, totally.
Yes,
So much on the
indeed.
desk.
And then one of the last panels. I mean, it was really hard to choose because there were so many good ones. Um, was when they meet their illustrious vampire hunter, which totally gave me Whistler from Blade vibes.
Hmm.
I just love what you guys were doing, telling like just the backstory here of vamp. Like you guys basically explained how your version of vampires are, while these people are just cleaning up after stuff. So you're just dealing with these people are bleeding, soaked in blood, just whatever, and this old man is just telling them what is. And it was just in one page, like you could have done like tons of flashbacks and everything. You guys just kept it simple, and it worked. Like I feel like sometimes I feel some people will just stretch out some things, and I was like, no, you just one page, explain everything you need to, and then go back to giving
And
people
then
what they
keep it
want. Just,
moving.
you know,
Yeah.
but like I said, this was just fantastic in terms of just informing the character what the lore. I was like,
Hmm. Hmm.
just absolutely great. But again, while they're just dealing with this crazy shit.
Yeah. And that's all Mayberry too. That's all his script and his concept for how vampires are gonna work and stuff. It's
But
great. It's great stuff.
absolutely, and it's funny because this. And my last thing, and then Carrie, if you want to contribute, and I know you have thoughts. Um, I this was the second time I've read something where vampires can't drink a certain kind of blood because it's
Mm.
been in their mind poisoned because it's been maybe irradiated or whatever. So
Mhm.
it's really interesting to see that be a plot line. And again, you had the what I like the primary villain of it, the head of the clan of swords, just looking so disgustingly grotesque as
Yeah.
more and more went on. I was like, dude. Um, so with that, what with that, I would just want to ask, like, what was there anything that was a particularly hard challenge in Bad Blood, and how did you overcome it?
Um, the real challenge with Bad Blood was just sort of the learning the ropes of doing a watercolored book. This was the very first book I ever did like this, where I was painting all the pages um, and yeah, there was just so much that I learned. I used and in fact, when you look at the beginning of the book, things are a little bit more like just sort of blown out and not quite as like will it focus on this?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
hold on a second. Let me turn this
Is
off.
it there?
No, we saw it.
Yeah.
Oh,
We got you,
there we
bud.
go.
So we got like it's a little bit more like just
Hmm.
sort of I don't know. It's like I was scared to use too much paint. And then by the end of it, it's like the colors are a lot more like solid and everything feels a little bit better lit and stuff. Like
Yeah.
so that was the big challenge, I think, was just learning the production of how to do a comic like this.
Hmm.
And also it was basically well, no, I was about to say it was the second like thing. Like I did yeah, well I get okay. Let me see if I can finish a thought. Dang. It was probably the
That's
second book where I had to create the look of the world. Because when I did BPRD, that world was already created for me before I even started. I was just like playing with stuff that people had already like invented. And the same was true for Sixth Gun.
Mm.
That was something that already existed, and I was just sort of along for the ride. But this one was the first one where I was like designing characters and designing the world and figuring out how everything was going to look. So that was definitely um, a big learning process.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's stuff like when you work in watercolor, it's like the scanning process and actually getting the artwork into the computer so it can be printed is like a whole ordeal. And I didn't have a good scanner when I was working on this, so I would actually have to FedEx my pages to Dark Horse for them to scan, and then they could send me the digital files so I could do cleanup and stuff on it. And that was a whole thing that was very, very interesting. I've since gotten a very nice scanner and can just do stuff. But
There you
Nice.
go.
but yeah, like that was a big learning curve for doing all that stuff.
What were the issues with the watercolor and scanning? Was it because it wasn't a high enough resolution, or was it with the colors?
Yeah, it's mostly color accuracy. It's pretty easy to get scanners that will do, well, even the resolution can be tricky sometimes with lower scanners, because lots of times you'll have a scanner that says it can scan at a certain dots per inch, but really it scans at a much lower and then algorithmically like makes
Yeah,
it bigger.
upscales it. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, but the real big thing is just color accuracy, because what happens with a lot of cheap scanners is like it will just pick one color that it likes and make it really, really bright. And you
Mm.
can't, it makes it very, very hard to sort of isolate it and like take it back down to normal and stuff. You have to like do a lot of work. But I have the scanner I use is called like it's an Epson like 11,000 graphics or something like that. I don't even think they make this particular scanner anymore because I've had it for almost 10 years now, but it's really nice.
Nice. Yeah, actually, yeah, I was going to ask you, who made it. I know I used to work for a t-shirt company, and
Mm,
they needed to scan in uh, there was some special print they needed to scan in. We had to get a special scanner for it. I can't remember what it was.
mm.
It
That
was
was
very
my first art job, was working for a kids t-shirt company.
Oh, nice.
wow.
Yeah, I
Really?
worked for a company. They're like long, long gone, but they're called Jungle Rags, and their whole shtick was they had a patent actually on this design where it would be like they'd do an animal's face on the front, so it'd be like an alligator, but it'd have a flap that would be like their mouth, so you could like open their mouth and there'd be like a little fish inside the alligator's mouth or something. That was their whole deal. And
Interesting.
like they sold it mostly to like tourist market stuff, so I had to do part of my job, like someone would order shirts for their little shop in Maui or something, and my job was to prep the artwork to say Maui so they could screen print it on the already printed shirts, and so they could sell it there. Great
That's
We
stuff.
all, listen, we all have to start somewhere, man.
You do what you
Yeah,
can,
yeah.
you know?
But
Um, yes.
no, I was
well,
gonna say, but that's
I
all I had of Bad Blood. So I don't know, Carrie, did you want to talk about Lonesome Hunters or something?
Oh, I actually had something else with Bad Blood,
Oh,
which
that's
was,
fine.
and it started out, you didn't actually grab a shot of it, but I figured, we didn't need
Sorry,
to throw
Carrie.
up a picture of every single thing that goes, but I don't know if you have one available to you or if it's just something that I imagined in my head. But at the very beginning, we have the main character, is terribly sick with cancer and is going through his chemo treatments and is just there's an obvious difference in his health appearance versus his friends and stuff,
Hmm.
and like when they're going to get the pictures taken and stuff. But I noticed that at least the way I saw it was that when they first encounter the real vampires, they all have the same pallid look as he does, where it's just like they've been buried and they're trying to get
Oh,
things. But also they have this whole sickly sort of contour to him. And he eventually, as we know, gets a little healthier. There's cancer and chemo go up and down and stuff, but it was just like really striking to me, like how much it was like they're undead, and that's what he looks like. Is that like death has definitely been hanging around him for a while.
Yeah, that's a neat observation. I don't remember if that was like an intentional thing or not, but yeah, that totally tracks.
Nicely done, Carrie.
It was just something that to me was kind of a really brilliant choice, or maybe a subconscious choice that you put into it. It just really felt like, wow. Okay. And then because like the subculture vampire humans had their they had more the goth look. Instead of really being sickly, they were
Mhm.
hot sickly, like
Yeah,
I'm doing this
yeah.
to be the sexy vamp or something, instead of the like, oh my god, there are craters
I,
growing out of my face and my jaw's falling off, dead vamp.
Yeah,
I,
well, I definitely did like I definitely did that intentionally where the humans that were into vampires looked a little bit more vampire-y, like they dressed a little more vampire-y than the actual vampires. And the actual vampires were a lot more sort of earthy and like wearing weird clothes that don't really make sense and stuff. Like,
true outsiders.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I also just want to say, and I for some reason didn't share it, so I don't know why. But the moment where one of the characters is just covered in blood, and she just like, oh my god, I have blood in my underwear. I'm like, I'm done. And it's like, and I've worked in horror movies where we've covered people in so much fake blood.
Hmm.
And I would think that I would hear something like that, but horror actresses are champs like that. Like, no, just drown me in the shit. But her as a real person reaction was like, oh my god, there's blood everywhere. I have blood in my underwear.
As a
What?
girl, that's not something you should really worry about. Like, it's
Yeah,
natural. It's
I
okay.
understand.
Well,
Right?
if it's someone else's blood, though, that can be disturbing.
Okay, yeah, that
Yeah,
is that
exactly.
is.
But just that reaction, especially because at that point, the character thought he had encountered another vampire, and
Mhm.
he just, again, I was like, yes, and we wonder why we're alone. You meet a girl who actually doesn't want to kill you, and you puke blood on her. I'm like, yep, yeah, that's love in a horror movie. Um, but yeah, I was just like, oh right, that. But if you want to see that for real, you got to read the book. So that's
Yeah.
all I have to say.
Yes.
Indeed. So Carrie, I said Lonesome Hunters. I
Lon- yes,
Yeah,
I there were some things from Lonesome Hunters I wanted to cover, but you mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. You're going through on the kind of like what would I do different thing with Petrograd,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
honestly, having that scale of a project be your breaking into comics moment. And we didn't
Hmm.
grab a bunch of stuff for this one because um it was just kind of a bit much to expect everybody who hadn't read, to
Yeah,
get through
yeah.
it. But um
I tried.
I
I looked at the cover.
There you
and
go.
it's
Yeah.
that's
Wow.
the new cover, isn't it?
No, that's the original cover from
Oh, that is
2011.
okay. I I'm getting confused. But I mean, how was that to be like walking in and just being like, and this is my first thing. And I know that you explained how the inking and stuff was done. If you could kind of do, or the coloring kind of stuff was done, if you could give us a brief on that as well. But just having this be your first big project just had to be like, wow.
Super daunting.
Yeah, well, I think that if I had known um, how hard and how long I would have to work on this project, I don't think I would have had the courage to do it. I think the reason I was able to do this book was because I went in overly confident, and then sort of my confidence dropped at the same rate that the pages were coming out. So by the time I was like, I can't do this, the book was done. So it was like, yeah, like, because I remember telling my editor when I started this book that I was like, I think I'll have this done like in a year. And then it was like 2.5 years later, I finally wrapped it up, and it was just like, oof, it took a long time.
I
And
love
I
that
had to,
building.
and it worked out great because I was like in constant contact with my editors, and I turned in pages to them every week, which was a lifesaver for me. Like if I had tried to like turn in pages in like if I tried to do like a quarter of the book and then turn it in, it would have been impossible. But I was just like on a weekly schedule trying to get like somewhere between like 3 and 6 pages done per week, and just slowly, treating it like a marathon. Um, I managed to get through it. But yeah, like I said, if I really understood how much work it would be, I would have chickened out and not done it. But luckily I went in stupid. So I could come out smart, hopefully.
Yeah,
And,
good job.
Yeah.
and it did great things for your career, you know?
It did. I'm still like really kind of surprised that like you said in the intro, I won that Russ Manning Award. Um, Showing Petrograd pages is what got me BPRD.
Mhm.
Showing those to Mignola. Um, yeah, it's really incredible. In fact, I just did a signing I was in the Bay Area this weekend signing at shops, and I was talking to Brian Hibbs, and I was like, if like when I was working on this, even when it was done, I would not have predicted that like I would have a career in comics, really. I was sort of like, this book will come out, and I had not thought past that moment. So like I'm still sort of like just amazed that I'm still making comics, whatever, 14 years later.
And then, you, like, so you explained this to us the other, like, 2 weeks ago, I think. But the way that the overlay of the shading of the kind of orange or
Yeah, that
ochre,
orangey brown.
yeah, got done. That was because originally it was all black and white, wasn't it? In shades of gray,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah, I had done black and white, and then we had the original plan with it was to do like digital gray tones on it. So it wouldn't be just straight black and white, it would have like gray shading and stuff in it. And I had done some tests as we were approaching the finish line on it. And there was some other book that Oni Press had published that year that was like two color. It was like black with a spot color. And I loved it. And I was like so excited. And I was like, we got to do that for Petrograd. And I did a bunch of tests with that where I did like digital shading on it, and then I did this watercolor test, and sort of everyone, and I think correctly, agreed that the watercolor was the way to go. And so the way I did it was I scanned in my black and white line art, and then I would print it out as a light blue onto it was actually on this 100% cotton like resume paper, like fancy pants resume paper that I got. So I would print it out onto that in this light blue, and then so I could see the image on it, and then I would do the shading really, really quickly in black watercolor. So every place where this brown is like 100% brown, in the original shading art, it's 100% black right there. And then I scanned that back in, and then in Photoshop I removed the blue and lined it up with the black line art, and turned the shading brown at that point. So it's kind of a like involved production process, but it ended up being really, really fast because
and
I
it's
because I'm
very
not
very
like
cool.
doing tight shading on this stuff. It's all very loose, and it goes outside the lines a lot and stuff like that.
Well, it certainly adds to the atmosphere of the book too.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
thanks.
Like
Sorry,
I said,
Carrie, I interrupted you. What were you saying?
I was just praising you, saying it was really cool, and it really adds and like makes it feel aged, you know. And
Yeah.
so, yeah.
And the in the digital version it's on white, but the printed version it's on a slightly creamy paper too, which is really nice
Oh,
to make
nice.
it feel a little bit older.
And this just was re-released again, wasn't it?
Yeah, we did a
As well.
10-year anniversary for it for in 2001 that has like a new cover for it and stuff.
Awesome. Okay, so Leo, we're gonna hop over now to Lonesome Hunters because we need to talk about your comic that you made and wrote and did everything for that like all of us are in love with and it's beautiful. I'm gonna give Leo a minute, but what was it like getting to write for the first time, like for your own stuff and just being like, this is mine? Did you have to worry about that? Did you just wait until you had everything? Oh, Leo, can you do not the Wolf Child, but the
No,
regular?
Leo, the other one is just Lonesome Hunters. The Wolf Child is the second one.
Writing for the first time. Well, first off, I should say that I started working on Lonesome Hunters in um, I think it was the end of 2012 or 2013 or something. It was what it was so, and then it didn't come out until 2022, I think. So it was at least 10 years that I was sort of thinking about this book. And so as far as writing goes, it took me 10 years to be able to write that first issue. It was that difficult. And
Well, it
it
was
took me a
great.
long, long time to build up the confidence to actually feel like I could do it. But fortunately, I was working, I've worked with so many great writers, John Arcudi and Cullen Bunn and uh, Jonathan Mayberry and Jeff Lemire and just like really, really top-notch writers I've had in my career. And so like I feel like I learned a lot from working with them and was able to sort of use that experience to help me figure out how to write this book.
Absolutely. No, and it was such a great story. Uh, I mean, I especially enjoyed, the spookier elements. Like, I definitely am now extra trepidatious of magpies. I mean, I was already cautious, having read a lot of Hellboy about crows, because that definitely hammered the ominousness of it. But I am definitely going to be concerned about leaving anything shiny, because a magpie might start talking and take it away from me, or might
Yeah.
sit on my head and possess my body. So, like, okay, we're just going to avoid birds. We're just going to
Yeah,
stay
well,
away from birds.
magpies are fine as long as you don't steal from them.
Yes, as you noted, they're not too quite fond of that one.
Yeah.
You have to
Yes.
salute or wave to the magpie if you see a lone one over in the UK
Oh,
because
yeah?
it's one for sorrow, or ask him like, "Hello, Mr. Magpie, how is your wife?" So that you have two magpies that you're addressing, so you have mirth
Mhm.
instead of sorrow,
Oh,
because you don't want
okay.
a single magpie. Yeah,
Yeah.
something I
I
learned.
I thought it was Heckle and Jekyll.
Get
No,
out.
they're crows.
Those are
I thought
my
they
species. No, but corvids in general are all very exceptionally intelligent.
Yeah.
Oh my God, right here. Yeah. When the color schemes and everything going with like pulling it into the reflecting on the wall and coming back out. This is just such a gorgeous shot.
Thank you.
And the
Yeah, that was
possession.
I do remember when I was writing that and I was trying to figure out like how am I gonna make a magpie scary? Like it's just a kind of a medium-sized bird and having them like possess you. Because if you go to like the next page, I think he stands up. No, a little bit. Oh no, it's not till the second issue. Sorry, spoilers.
That's okay. I want to show a
Yeah.
couple things from the second issue if he gets good. Okay, so thunk.
Very fond of that cover
This
too. Like that
this
the cover for issue 2. I'm really proud of that.
yeah, and the splatter on this is beautiful. And
Thank you.
that's
Wham!
I I love the next page as well because it's another one of those like you made such a rich background here. And I'm gonna keep joking, it's a splatter, but it does. It just those little bits help set off everything else. The light, it's not quite white, it's a yellow that you have going there, but
Mhm.
you know, you don't really think about it, but if it wasn't there, it wouldn't be quite as bright of a painting. Um,
Yeah, the little especially the little white splatters work so
yeah,
good to be like there's light coming through the air and it's catching stuff that's in the air. Well, and it's a little bit of a crutch too, like like if you look at that big tree kind of just off to the right of center there, there's like when I drew that, there's like, 10 lines making that whole tree, and the rest is sort of made up of splatter. Like all the texture of that bark is just from splatter, which is like a kind of a cheat instead of having to actually draw it all.
but it works. So it's not so much cheating as a technique that you have turned into an exceptionally effective tool,
Well, thank you.
you
Well,
know.
and I will say this, anytime I saw the sword, like I was like, man, this man spent a lot of time in the Mike Mignola universe because that definitely gave me, anytime Mike would ever draw a sword, it's very distinct. Like it's never
Yeah.
like it's funny because I was always talking about that with people like Mike style, and then people who work with him, they have similar, but they'll take nods to it. And it was just like how people draw hands or like
Mhm.
swords. It's never just. It's always like big and bulky, like,
Yeah.
and it just always looks heavy. Like you just can imagine it wouldn't be like, oh yeah, I can just pick it up and it was like it's like, oh fuck, this is heavy.
Yeah.
So just seeing this old man clutching this artifact that he is just so scared to use. I was just like, boy, this is just awesome. Like,
Yeah.
you
Well, I think Mike and I had the same problem because the main sword in Hellboy is that one from um what do they call it? From the olden days.
what,
From
what
the
Excalibur?
time when the Ogdru were like originally
Oh
like
yeah.
coming to
Oh
Earth or whatever.
yeah. I know what you're thinking of. I was like, damn it. Like, I was like,
I
you're
s-
a
I
fan. You can't even
seen
name
I
the damn sword.
yeah.
Shit. No, but I
Yeah.
know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So we sort of have that same issue. Like this sword is also supposed to be super ancient. So we both had to like figure out how to make a sword that looks like it was invented before swords were a thing. Nobody knew how to make a sword when they made this one. So this was their best guess.
It's a Kingslayer for stopping horses kind of
Yeah.
thing. Um, I really wanted it. This is why I had Leo pull this up. Actually, I really wanted to. Well, besides the opening page, but I really wanted to pull attention to the page on the right with your lettering thing there. I'm obsessed with lettering, but the motion on the swish, the little tiny trip, and then the like landing on the thumb. Oh, sorry, I hit my computer. I was excited, but the
So
landing on the thumb there are all just like brilliant and so
Well,
much
thank you.
fun. Like it's a very intense moment, but it adds to the whole thing as it's like you feel as you're going through it, and it also made it really fun for me to read it, to see it like vroom, vroom,
But
so
I think too, like hopefully when people read this, because so many stories that we get fed nowadays are like, oh, this guy, he's like the best who ever did it. And he comes out of retirement and, oh, well, look at that. He's still the best that ever did it. And, like John Wick style. And I am in love with characters that are trying their hardest but aren't good at the thing, but have to find a way to get through it, even though they don't know what they're doing, even though they trip over their own feet.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just great.
But to talk about your sound effect love, I also love sound effects, and I've sort of always tried really hard to do the sound effects in the art as opposed to, a lot of artists will let the letterers take care of the sound effects. And I
Mhm.
always feel like it needs to be as integrated as possible. And then also there's that sound effect in the panel 1, 2, 3, in panel 4 that is one of my favorite kinds of little sound effects where it just says trip.
Yeah.
Like the sound it makes is the thing that it is, and that always cracks me up.
And I will say another moment I love from this is when they're in the car traveling
Hmm.
and she's describing her favorite show and he's
Yeah,
just
favorite
asking
anime.
questions. Yeah, his favorite anime. And literally, I'm not gonna lie, I very much sympathize because anytime I'm traveling with Carrie, this is our dynamic because I'll literally be talking about this thing and she's just like, sounds nice. Sounds cool. Oh, what's the protagonist? What do they do? What's the actor? Like just very simple
Uh-huh.
questions, and I'm like, it's great. You'll love it. Like, do you care? No, she does, but it's just I feel like anybody who's ever been super enthusiastic about something had that moment with someone who was older, much like a grandparent. And
Yeah.
I know because I had a moment like that trying to explain the X-Men to my grandmother, and I've never seen someone trying so hard to sound interested but really not caring. Just like, it's nice, dear. So school, I'm like, yeah, but Sabretooth though.
Yeah. No, I remember like well actually I guess I don't remember this, but my mom has reminded me of it a few times because it's a cute
Mhm.
story, but when I was like 13 or 14, I started reading Mage, The Hero Discovered by Matt Wagner. And it's
Mhm.
still one of my favorite comic book series, but it was very formative for me. And I was so into it that I took it to my mom and I'm like, "Mom, you have to read this because I need somebody to talk to about this comic." And you're the only person I can think of who will actually sit down and read it. And she did. She sat down and read it so we could talk about it.
Nice.
And so that was some of the inspiration of that. But it also like that scene in particular was sort of the two characters, Lupe, who's the young woman, and Howard, who's the old man. Like I wanted a scene where um, Lupe was sharing something that was very personal to herself, and
Mhm.
having Howard be because Howard doesn't give a shit about Mecha Saber Gemini. Really doesn't care, but he loves that there's somebody with him who's sharing something that they love, and he's like just soaking in the fellowship of being with somebody who's excited about something in the world, because that's
Absolutely.
far from Howard's experience in life in this story.
Absolutely. And then even later on, they're in that like hotel room and they're watching it, and he's actually asking questions like, what is going on here? Like, what is it? And she's just explaining the lore. And I'm just
uh,
like, I was
and
like, my
he's
God.
like, yeah,
th-
it's an anime about mecha guys, and he's like, I thought it would be more like a Disney film.
yeah. And it's literally me watching Batman with my father. Everything is always like, oh yeah, but Christian Bale. I'm like, oh, like no, no, no. Adam West. I'm like, Dad, there was so much more to Batman than Adam West. But he was like, yeah, but this. I'm like, okay, Dad, let's just keep watching the movie.
Yeah,
When
I
I don't
are
want
they
remember
back?
being a pretty young kid and asking my mom if Batman, the Adam West Batman, was intentionally funny because I thought maybe that was just like the dumb shit that like old people liked back in the day.
to. Right.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, having met the man is pretty. He was having met the man once in my life is pretty fucking funny. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna
I
lie.
believe it.
Oh yeah, especially when I asked him, I said, "What's your favorite line?" And he said, and I was like, "Well, that mayor in Quahog's a real hoot." And that was his answer, and I was just like, "I can't. Even your answers are hysterical, Mayor West. Thank you." Um, but yeah. So I just wanted to comment that was one of my favorites was that, and there was one moment I got to give you credit for. I think it's where Howard is trying to apologize to. I think it was Trina or Tina,
Tina,
the
yeah.
Tina, and he's basically trying to apologize for being an absentee dad, and she doesn't let him, and you just have that moment of silence
Yeah.
between the both of you. I was like, wow, that is just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
there's more to that relationship. If I can ever get back to Lonesome Hunters, because Howard isn't actually her dad. They just knew each other from long ago.
well,
Howard is actually really good friends with her mom,
well,
is the
what I,
relationship. Yeah.
yeah, but it just had that like absentee dad regrets vibe that I
Yeah.
feel like you have when you're later in your life, or at least as I've been told. And it was just like, again, the book has, it's a lot of different points, but you juggled them so well.
Oh,
you know,
thanks.
especially
Yeah.
like, you had the crazy weird shit, and then you had, this younger person, and this surrogate parent that's now taking care of you, and then this weird thing that unites them, and and then things like that. It was just, I was like, wow, right
Well,
in the
thank
field.
you. Thank you very much. Yeah, I had um, so much fun writing Lonesome Hunters. It's probably my favorite thing I've ever done.
And everybody's really hoping that it gets picked up by somebody now. So
Yeah.
we need
Yeah.
more.
No, it's one of those things. I've had to work on a bunch of other projects in the meantime, but I am like slowly picking away at it, and I have like the first issue of a third arc about, halfway laid out and
Mhm.
stuff. But
Well, well,
it's just a
I'll
slow process at this point.
I mean, hey, listen, man, other things have been picked up for less. And, if it gets, like in my head, I'm like, if it gets a third season, let's go,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Um, but no, but it's fantastic. And
Oh, nice.
I hope you get to tell more, because even just Wolfchild with that little heartbreaker was just,
Just
again, the kind of weird tragedy that I have become way too used to reading Hellboy. And I was like, oh no, don't go into, like,
Yeah.
the second I was like, don't go into those woods. I've seen where this goes. You don't want to go into those woods, because that never goes well. And then, oh, regular people in the woods. Oh no, they're
Yeah.
not going to come out alive. And you know what? I'm not going to spoil anything, but some didn't.
Oh.
But I won't say who. But there was definitely some mayhem.
so
So
we've kept Tyler here so far for just over an hour and 15 minutes, and we have not actually even started talking about Out of Alcatraz yet. But
shit.
That,
we
that,
also haven't let
thank you,
Leo
Karen.
speak at all.
Okay, Leo,
So
go.
It's tough to get in there, but I know we are running out of time, but I wanted to make sure that we did touch on Out of Alcatraz. So Tyler, this came out recently. Could you
Mhm.
explain to everybody watching, what is Out of Alcatraz?
Out of Alcatraz is inspired by a true life event. In 1962, three men escaped from the Alcatraz prison. They were they basically made they used raincoats, and they made a raft, and they made life jackets for themselves, and they found a way to burrow through their out of their cell into a gap in the walls. There's a whole film called Escape from Alcatraz that covers it in a lot of detail. But our story sort of picks up with them after they've left the island, and they make it across the bay to land. And the official story is that that these guys died in a San Francisco Bay, and that's the end of it. But our story sort of explores the idea of like what would have happened if they didn't? What if they did make it to land? And starts to explore ideas about like, you know, they've escaped, but how can they be free? You know, because like, what are you going to do once you've escaped from Alcatraz? So yeah, and that's basically what it is. It's about a bunch of people trying to figure out how to be free, and it's sort of set in that 1962 California. It's a very sort of noir story,
Mhm.
uh, but it's like a weird time in California, even where it's like the civil rights movement is like just sort of starting to gather steam. The summer of '69 won't happen for, you know, another 7 years. Um, but the things that lead up to the like counterculture and all that stuff is already sort of bubbling underneath the surface. Um, and yeah, I think I think it's a good book. I'm so happy with this. And working with Chris Cantwell on this has been a dream. It's been so fun.
Oh no, and it definitely paces itself very well. It felt very much like one of those old like Turner Classic kind of projects. Like it definitely had that, old fashioned pacing. And then again, the long shots, like something like this, it's just amazing. Again, it's just the detail. Like you see everything you need to know, and then these little panels, like what you just did there, like it's very cinematic, from
Well,
what I've
thanks.
seen,
Yeah.
yeah. So that, I mean, I just noticed that as well, and it moves very nicely. The characters are very well established, and it's just, yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, I
So
think this is more than any other book I've ever worked on. This one was sort of inspired by movie and TV stuff. Because
Well, also,
I hadn't
do you
really
know?
done like a crime thing before, you know? So
mm,
I was a little bit nervous going into it, and I started watching a lot of noir movies and watching a lot of noir or reading a lot of noir books, and man, I loved it. I love like because there's something about like I basically ended up treating it a lot like a horror book without a monster in it. You
mm.
know, it's just like the monster is the characters. You know, the monster is they're trying to get, you know, the thing that they're trying to get away from.
Uh,
Those ocean shots in the beginning were crazy.
Thanks. Those were inspired by like I wanted to make it feel like you were in the raft with them, basically. But it's also like very much inspired by TV shows. Because you know, like when there was a show, when you're watching shows from the 70s and 80s in particular, it's like if anybody had to get lost at sea, they couldn't afford to go take a camera out to the ocean and wait for a storm to come. So it was all like filmed in a swimming pool on the like Universal back lot with people throwing buckets of water and the camera just shaking like crazy, you know, to make the illusion that they were out in the ocean.
Right.
So I was sort of trying to get that feeling with the scene, and everybody's just screaming.
do you know if Cantwell, before he wrote this, that he looked at any of the new research for Alcatraz?
I don't know specifically what research he did, or how old it is. I know he researched the hell out of it though.
Okay.
Because one of the things about it though is that most of the research you can do about Alcatraz is based on like how they escaped and whether or not they made it. And there's stuff like there was a car stolen on Angel Island that night
Yep.
that the FBI basically decided they were going to ignore.
Mhm.
Um, there was there was a ship captain who reported seeing a body washed out to the ocean, um, but the FBI, like that person reported it, but the FBI never followed up with him. And it really looks like one of those things where the the authorities had set up Alcatraz to be like, this cannot, the people we put in Alcatraz are the worst of the worst, and no one will ever escape from there. And we, the authorities, are infallible. But really, like, most of the convicts at Alcatraz were sort of petty criminals who kept escaping from other prisons. Like Frank Morris, the main character here, he had escaped from prison before, and that's what got him sent to Alcatraz. And I think the brothers, Clarence and John, um, also escaped from prison, and that's why they got sent to Alcatraz. I don't quote me on that one though. But definitely Frank Morris was there because he was like a repeat prison break guy. So it wasn't even like really, really bad. Like, it wasn't murderers and terrorists and stuff. Like, the characters in this story were sort of petty criminals, but they just escaped from, they didn't want to be in prison, so they kept escaping. But one of the things that about the escape is then, like, authorities didn't want to admit that you could escape from Alcatraz, although they did shut it down within about a year and a half of this escape. They shut the whole thing down.
Oh wow.
And then the same when they couldn't find him, they didn't want to admit that these guys who they had told the world were the worst of the worst, they didn't want to tell them that they were just running around. So they just covered it up for themselves. At least that's sort of the appearance of it. But then our story sort of is more about sort of the psychological and emotional drama of how do you, like, once you're out of the frying pan and into the fire, like, what do you do now? Like, how do you get out of the fire now? And they'll meet a lot of people along the way who are sort of also trying to get free in their own way, and people who are happy to take advantage of people who have limited options in life, you know?
Yeah, makes sense.
Well, you talked earlier. We talked earlier for your other books. Building the atmosphere with
Mhm.
with your art, and I think you really captured it with this one because reading it, like I'm a history buff, and it's watching there was a recent story about escaping from Alcatraz, and you mentioned Angel Island, how they now think that maybe they drifted a little further down and actually made it to the island.
Mhm.
But reading this and taking in your art, definitely it felt engrossing. You really captured like the time of that.
Oh, thank you so much. I put a lot of effort into that and trying to just capture that. Um, and some of it was easy, like getting the cars right was drawing cars was hard for me, but I feel like I got way better as the series went along. But getting them, the period cars right was easy. There was stuff that was more challenging, like later in the book, uh, they end up in, I don't think this is a big spoiler, but they ended up in Redding, California, or at least part of the story takes place in Redding, California. And we had reference for what the police station in Redding looked like. And I was like, oh, I'm going to try to find some more photos of that so I can get, choose a different angle if I want to. And in doing that, I discovered that the one we were planning on using didn't become the police station until 1974 or something. So then I had to go searching to find out what the real police station looked like in 1962, and I ended up calling the library in Reading and talking to a very wonderful librarian there and being like, do you know what the police station was, or do you know where I could look that up? And she was like, yeah, and she went and found a locally published like history magazine that had a photo of it, and it was not at all what I was expecting. So I would have never come up with it on my own, but we got it right for the book. And so
That's
yeah,
awesome.
we worked really hard to make it be a period thing. And like I was saying earlier, it's like the setting is so much of what it means to like make these immersive, you know? Like if if it's wrong, it's wrong, and it just won't feel right.
Like that final
Mhm.
little shot there with the sun coming up as they're settling
Yeah, like
in for their.
that's basically as far as they have more of a plan, but that was like all the hard part. Finally they're in their street clothes, nobody knows where they are. Sun's coming up. What's gonna happen next?
Yeah.
And how many issues is this planned for?
It is 5 issues, and the first issue is a double-sized. It's
Nice.
44 pages.
Awesome.
Yeah,
And
and I'm
go for it.
almost done with the final issue. I'm on page 9 right now.
Awesome.
So that I'll be done with that in the next 2 weeks or so. It's very exciting. It's been a long time coming.
So we're
And
excited to get a chance.
oh no, I was just gonna say, just reminder for everybody that issue 1 is out now. So definitely
Mhm.
hit your LCS and pick up a copy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna love this.
And I have heard like my editor went to her local shop and it was already sold out. But
Ooh.
they told me yesterday that they're going back to print for it. So there should be a second printing coming soon if your shop doesn't have it.
And
Yeah.
I'm
That's
a lot of
awesome.
I'm seeing a lot of positive comments about it online too.
Yeah, me too. It feels really nice. Like it's lots of times you put out books and in in spite of your best efforts, like it just sort of comes out and some people read it and most people don't, and it sort of just plugs along like that. But Out of Alcatraz really feels good. It feels like the release of this first issue has been really, really positive. I'm really excited about it.
Well, we're excited for you, and definitely want you to have the most success on this. It's definitely was a good read the first issue, and I can't wait to see issue 2.
Nice.
Absolutely.
It's a nice turn for you to go through, having the crime thing going on. And it's still got all those dark elements in it, though. So it's going to be so much fun to stay with. So,
Yeah.
okay, this is that hour and a half moment of, did we cover everything?
He's got to go. Right.
Yeah, we definitely want to be respectful of your time.
Yeah.
Definitely sorry for keeping you an hour and a half, but it's
I could go a little bit longer if you guys wanted to, or if you want to wrap up, I'm happy to wrap up too.
Don't say
Drew,
that.
Guys?
Don't say that to Carrie. She'd be like, "No, stay, don't go, stay. Watch us do the news. Watch us do the news." But no, he's
This has
fine.
been a pretty far-reaching interview. Going all the way back to Bad Blood was pretty fun. I actually hadn't flipped through Bad Blood in a long time. That was really neat.
There you go.
It
You're welcome.
I'm always relieved when I look back at my old work and it looks better than I remembered it. Like I have that distance of time and I can sort of look at it a little bit more objectively, and I'm sort of like, oh, this is all right. This is kind of cool.
Very nice. Pretty,
Yeah.
pretty cool.
The purple zombie is still good. I just got to let
Thank
you
you.
know that. I really enjoyed that. Even though you didn't like it, the purple
Yep.
zombie was good. So
Carrie's talking about I did on one of my live streams, I got a new purple paint and I wanted to try it out, and I did a painting of a zombie. Do I have it right here?
Yeah, you do.
do you?
Yeah,
That
I
would be
do right here.
awesome.
So I did
The
this zombie.
purple zombie.
It's
Nice.
okay. It's fine. But I
It-
was like, when I got started on it, I had a vision in my head for it looking like way cooler than it turned out. So
looks good.
that's
I
always
can-
the challenge as an artist, is when you have a picture in your head and it doesn't end up on the paper, it can be very disappointing. Even if it turns out great, it's like, just I missed the thing I was aiming for, you know.
You'll find it.
Yeah.
That's how it always goes.
Yeah.
When we don't succeed, we paint again. Yeah, that's how that goes. And last thing I will say, because I had this inside joke with Carrie when we were talking about you coming on, and I was just imagining, I was like, man, can you imagine if we ever had Tyler draw the three of us, like it was a cover of Harrow County, and I was like, I don't even know, but I imagine I'm upside down in it, just because I'm just zany. And Carrie's holding a book, and her hair is just all magical, and I don't know, Leo. I'm sure there'll be something with an axe and snakes. We have to embrace your
Yeah.
your snake hunter, your lore.
I don't even know if Tyler knows that story.
No, yeah, but we can't tell him. We cannot tell him.
At some point, we will acquaint Tyler with the Leo lore, because Leo could actually be a comic. It would be fun. Like, he's worked for like people who ended up like being in fights with the Yakuza.
Yep.
He had snakes that were infesting his old family farm grounds. That they have this whole like area. It's not just like the farmhouse. It's like the whole family lived in this compound, only it didn't have a fence around it. And he's like running around, like killing these like 6 foot, 9 foot long snakes with axes and cutting them off the building that they're climbing up and doing things.
No,
And he's like,
Carrie.
oh, and then I got hit in the head twice with a backhoe, and I flipped a 4-wheeler, and then I went and had to fight this thing. And it's
Yeah.
just like, you had the most dangerous, bizarre life in the world.
Yeah,
And it's all like in rural Connecticut, and it is a setting for, like, I don't know what kind of, and then he's just like, hi, I'm the monkey behind the keyboard. It's like, you're like Indiana Jones on crack, and then
no, Carrie, you're
decided to
missing the
become a
important thing.
podcaster.
Is he shrugs it off like it was stamping on a bug. It was like, oh yeah, just did that. Like, oh yeah, it was no big deal. And I'm just like, Leo, it is a big deal. Like, so many questions. Like, where were your parents? Like,
handing him the axes.
No, they were just
no,
there. I had
no. No. You don't talk right now. You can't talk. You've talked enough. No,
okay. No, yeah, I just real quick.
Snakes.
Yes,
we went over the snakes. No,
Drew.
You can't. No. Hop up. No.
Hold on a second. Okay, Leo, you're allowed to talk now.
Yeah. So yeah, real quick. I did live in a snake infested house. And I was killing about a dozen snakes a summer. They were about 6 feet long. They were black snakes. But they were
they like water moccasins or
no racers, so they were very aggressive.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And there was one day where I was in the back room trying to catch one, and it was really hot, so it was moving like a just like a mother, and it was crawling up the wall, and I had 2 axes, so I was using one to pull it off the wall and then the other to dispatch it. But just the act of trying to catch it as it's like crawling up the wall it was crazy.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
I don't even have like a thing of like, I'm not even like super scared of snakes, but like I certainly have never found a snake inside my house.
Yeah, I still have nightmares about it. It's like, yeah.
Why do we always tell these stories at the end when people need to go? Like, I swear to God, we do this on purpose, Leo.
Because we never let Leo talk before
and whose fault is that? He sits here. He could chime in, but he defaults to
I try to chime in, but when there's great conversation going, you gotta let it flow.
I should point out that Drew started telling the story, not Leo.
Yeah, exactly.
Every time. Every time.
And Leo
it is my curse.
Leo does have one question that he likes to ask everybody, so we're gonna at least let him have that one.
Okay.
Why? Thank you, Carrie.
Unless you have any, you can have stuff before that as well if you like.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I'm
no,
just
we'll,
gonna.
we'll keep it to this, and I'm sure we've asked you before, Tyler. But what is something, when you're not drawing and writing, what do you dork out about? Like, what do you do to unwind? Do you like are you, like I mentioned, like a history buff? Would you like watch movies? Do you play video games? Do you build models? What do you do?
I do my probably my biggest hobby is making music. Like I'll
Oh,
write and record a lot of songs. I actually did a whole Harrow County soundtrack.
sweet.
That's like the soundtrack to the comic. It's on Bandcamp. If you just search Harrow County on there, and it's streaming just about everywhere except for Spotify.
Okay.
So if you want to stream it, you can listen.
Wonderful.
But yeah, dude, I like making music a lot, and I like musical gear and stuff. I've been really geeking out on for the last year or two. I got a MPC, which is a music production center, is what it stands for. But it's like I'm sure you've seen them for hip hop. It's like you got 16 pads and you can finger drum and you can load up samples and do stuff. And I have one of those, and I've been geeking out a lot on sort of building music through sort of sampling different, like I like setting up microphones and sampling myself, like banging around in the garage and stuff like that.
Okay.
That's sort of my geeky thing. Every once in a while, I'll post on like Blue Sky about it, and nobody knows what the hell I'm talking about. Because I'll be like, oh, they got to do firmware for my MPC, and nobody knows. Nobody knows what I'm saying.
I'll keep a lookout for it then. I had one back in the 90s. I had like a old drum machine, electronic drum machine, and that was a lot of fun.
Do you remember what kind?
Oh, no, it's been too long.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, I have music gear that I got rid of, and I'll still like go online and look at it like I'm stalking an ex-girlfriend sort of a thing, where I'm just like there's a reel-to-reel recorder that I used to have called a Tascam 388, and it was like a single unit, so it was like a reel recorder that laid flat on the table, but it had like a whole mixer attached to it, and it was like this thing that weighed 70 pounds and was like 3.5 feet across. And when we moved out of California, we just didn't have a place for it. So I gave it to a friend of mine. And every once in a while, I'm like, fuck, I wish I could get that back so bad.
We'll keep an eye
And
out.
have you looked on like eBay or something like that? It has like
Oh,
gone up,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. Like I had originally bought mine for $500, and those go for like $3,000 or $4,000 nowadays.
Wow.
Oh wow.
Like, yeah, I need like something to get turned into a movie so I can get another one.
There we go. Harrow County
We're
the
hoping
movie.
for you, buddy.
Harrow County, the movie. Get Tyler a Tascam 388.
Yep.
Yeah.
Get
The
smarter.
Lonesome Hunters series. That would make a great, like, I don't want to say Netflix, maybe, I'm not sure. But it would make a great streaming series,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, again, Tyler, thank you so much for joining us, man. It's been absolutely great. And good luck on all the cons you're going to and everything you're working on and whatnot. And Carrie will keep us updated on everything you're doing. So
Oh yeah,
Nice.
I do.
Good.
But thank you so much for joining us. And seriously, best of luck with everything you're working on, man.
Thank you so
Yes,
much.
Yeah.
Jeremy, we're still going.
It's
God,
my pleasure.
sorry.
Let's
I'm
not forget.
sorry. No, it's very nice. It's just somebody had to make a comment.
Well, thanks, guys. Thanks so much for
Yeah.
having me. It was really nice to talk to you. And it was fun to talk to you and see your face, Carrie.
Yes, I will see you on. Well, I will talk to you on Friday.
Okay.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.
We know
I
what,
love
when we're
Tyler.
done, we're going to talk about interview etiquette because sometimes I swear to God, me and you are oil and vinegar in such a way.
Hey, so